Oi. Gopirana Balaba Girivaradari Gopidana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jai Ho Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Jai Ho Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Ho Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pariraj Gacharya Sadhara Sadasi Srimati Rani Goswami Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, 13th chapter, Indra afflicted by sinful reactions. Text number 11. Tayendra sma sahatapam Tayendra sma sahatapam Nirvrittir namum avishat Nirvrittir namum avishat Hrimantam vachitam praptam Hrimantam vachitam praptam Sukkayantyapino gunaha Sukkayantyapino gunaha Tayendra sma sahatapam Nirvrittir namum avishat Hrimantam vachitam praptam Sukhayantyapino gunaha. Ladies, Matajis. Taya, by that action, Indraha, King Indra, Sma, indeed, Asahat, suffered, Tapam, misery, Nirvritti, happiness, Na, not, Amum, him, Avishat, entered, Hrimantam, one who is shameful, Vachatam, ill fame, Praptam, obtaining, Sukhayanti, give pleasure, Api, although, no, not, Gunaha, good qualifications, like possessing opulence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritrasura, and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritrasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in his grief. Purport: one cannot be happy by committing sinful acts, even if one's endowed with material opulence. Indra found this to be true. People began to blaspheme him, saying, "This person has killed a Brahmin for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness." Therefore, in spite of being king of heaven and enjoying material opulence, Indra was always unhappy because of the accusations of the populace. Tayendrasma sahattapam nirvittir namumavishat hrimantam vachitam praptam sukhayantyapino gunaha. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritrasura, and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritrasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in his grief. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamhayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamaham vande Sri Gurudinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. No need. Hare Krishna. So here we see crisis management. There's certainly a crisis, right? Vritrasura, he was attacking the demigods and he was ferocious. He was very powerful. So they had to take drastic measures. When there's crisis, sometimes a drastic measure is required in order to counteract the crisis. But that drastic measure may create another crisis. Has this ever happened to you in management? You have a problem, you try to solve it, and your solution has created a bigger problem than the original problem? So this is what we're dealing with here. Because Indra knew that this Vritra was not a demon, this Vritra was a devotee. In fact, he was a better devotee than Indra. And that really troubled him. Even though Indra was determined, he was having the opulence of tolerance and fame and a lot of wealth because he's the king of the demigods. Yet none of this was meaningful. None of this was pleasing. None of this was enjoyable to him. Why? Because people started talking bad about him. So, for a person who's been honored, this honor is worse than death. Death is pretty bad, right? But this honor is worse than death. Because when you're dead, you're dead. And it's, hogia. You're moved on. You're in the next stage. But if you get dishonored, you have to live with that. And that is bad. So, Indra is facing this scenario. He had killed Vritrasura under the advice of the Brahmins. So you might say, hey, big deal. He was advised to act like that, so he did what he was told to do, and that is that. But not only Indra had to suffer, the Brahmins also had to suffer. How did the Brahmins have to suffer? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his comment to this whole episode, says, later on, Indra, he had to perform prayaschita. He went for atonement for how long? 1,000 years. For 1,000 years he was in hiding. Now, this is not just vanavas, 13 years and 1 year incognito. This is 1,000 years. Where was he hiding? Stem of a lotus flower in a lake. And he had to fast because Agni was afraid to go there, not just because of the water, but because Lord Shiva's people were guarding that area. So he could not really go there. So Indra had to fast. And that was a tough 1,000 years for him. During his absence from heaven, Nahusha took his post as an administrator. He took the role of Indra for that period. And because all of a sudden he was promoted to the position of king of heaven, he became a little arrogant, a little negligent, a little proud. So much so that he felt, hey, I'm the Indra. So where is my Shachi? So he was making proposals to Indra's wife. And she, naturally being a chaste lady, was very much upset and bothered by that. So she went to Brihaspati and she said, what should I do? This is the situation. He said, very simple. You tell him, yes, I will meet you, but only if you come being carried on a palanquin by Brahmins. So Nahusha was on his way, and there were different Brahmins, different sages carrying him. And he was saying, hey, go faster, go faster, go faster. And he touched one of the Brahmins, one of these great sages, with his foot. And the sage cursed him to become what? To become a snake. So the sages also had to suffer because they were tormented by this situation of Nahusha insulting them and using them for his ulterior purpose. So everybody had to suffer sinful reactions. When something terrible happens, everybody in that place becomes implicated, one way or the other, to one degree or the other. And the administering of justice is a very, very great science. One time I was with His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj, and we discussed some ISKCON issues. And at the end, of our conversation, he looked at me and he said, Navina, whoever appointed you as Yamaraj? And we were both laughing. Sometimes we want to take the role of passing judgment, but then we realize that this is not such an easy topic to pass judgment. It's not an easy service to pass judgment. So sometimes we see in our own institution that we want to ban people. We want to tell people, okay, you did something questionable, so now you're banned from coming to the temple. You're banned from doing devotional service. But what's the prayaschita? What is the atonement for doing something negative or something sinful? What is the atonement? But we're telling him not to do devotional service. So how is that going to help the person? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had a secret farm in South India. Now this came out because the BRC got the library of all the books of Sundarananda Vidya Vinod, who was secretary and assistant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And when he said, please relieve me from this responsibility. I don't want to take care of this farm. This farm was a very special place. Nobody knew about it. It was secret operation, secret ops. This place was for rehabilitating leaders who are in charge of mats or sannyasis who somehow made mistakes. They had done something wrong. So they were sent there for 1 year or 2 years. They had to do humble seva there, had to wash their own clothes, eat simple food, and do humble devotional service. And if they did that, after 1 or 2 years, they were reinstituted in their former positions. Nobody knew about what they did. It was not like public domain that the whole world has to know about this. But it was very precise to change the mentality that caused that mistake, to rectify that mentality, and then to allow the person to continue with devotional service. One time, one leader had a fall down, and others were publicizing it, and Srila Prabhupada said, you have made it impossible for him to come back. You have made it impossible for him to return to devotional service. Why? Because you have destroyed his reputation. You have destroyed his reputation. So we have to be very careful, especially in today's day and age of social media and all these other devices that can be useful or can be distractive or can be very, very harmful, depending on we use them. So never go on a rampage, never go on a jihad about whatever you are very obsessed about, because there will be repercussions. Whenever you push, there is some pushback. Have you noticed? You push and there is some pushback. That is the nature of this world. Just like when, please, just turn it off. Just like when Dhruva Maharaj, his brother was killed by the Yakshas. And he was the emperor, so he thought this needs retaliation, this needs rectification. So he went to war against the Yakshas. And he wiped them out because he was a very powerful Kshatriya. But he was stopped by superior authority, who told him that, Dhruva, cool down. Only one person killed your brother, not all of them. They're not all bad people. And Dhruva had to oblige because he overshot the target. Sometimes we overshoot the target. We oversell. We're supposed to give the person a small book or Bhagavad Gita, but we are a little over enthusiastic, you know? Utsahamai. Yes! Full set. Immediately. Lifetime subscription. And then it backfires. One time when I was a very enthusiastic young brahmachari, I sold one set, in fact, a full set, to an elderly lady. And throughout our conversation, every 5 minutes, she kept on asking me, but I have to give you some donation, right? I have to give you some money. And she went back to her room and she brought me money. And after 5 minutes, she would ask me, but I have to give you some money. I have to give you some donation. And she went back to the room. So this kept on going for a while till I realized she's not really 100%. She's not really fully there. Huh? You understand the scenario? But I was young and I was enthusiastic. So I thought, hey, let's play this game. Every 5 minutes, she goes and gets a donation. Later on, her son complained, and he said, Ma doesn't have any money left, and, there's all these books here, and something went wrong. So we had to go and, smoothen the waves and sort things out. So we learned the hard way. But we can also learn the easy way. How? By hearing. Guru Karnadharam. By hearing from Parampara, and hearing these narrations from the Bhagavatam, which are real-life scenarios. Real-life scenarios. Just like here, they're having a crisis. Do you ever have crisis in your life? In your temple, in your project? Continuous, right? Like there's free crisis for everybody who signs up for ISKCON management. How to deal with it? Well, you have to read the Bhagavatam. Yatredyante katam rishtas trishnayo prashamo yatra nirvairam yatra bhuteshu nodvego yatra kaschana. Wherever and whenever the Bhagavatam is being discussed, there is no anxiety, fear, envy, material affliction, hankering, at least as long as you're discussing the Bhagavatam. For now, we're good, right? After breakfast, we don't know what's going to happen. As soon as you look back into your WhatsApp messages, it's like, hey, I like you, I don't like you, I hate you. Oh, Jai, Shishi, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi, Shishi Gonitai, Shishi Radha Vrindavan Chandra Ki, Jai. As long as we're hearing Bhagavad Gita, we're safe. As soon as the Katha stops, watch out. Then other things may start to happen. So why does Prayaschita not really work? Remember the bathing of the elephant? Because the mentality has not changed. So the modus operandi is the same. Does Indra get into trouble again later on? Yes, of course, he's Indra. He continuously gets into trouble because he's the king of the demigods, which means a lot of power, a lot of opulence, a lot of opportunity for sense gratification, a lot of fear, a lot of envy. And these qualities, they're the enemies. We're at war. At war against whom? Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarja. Those are the enemies. In Satya Yuga, the demons and the demigods were on different planets. Next Yuga, they were on the same planet. Next Yuga, they were in the same family. In Kali Yuga, they're in the same person. Have you noticed sometimes Asura Bhav is coming up? Lower modes are creeping up. They're trying to infiltrate and ruin our lives. So then we need to take this medicine, Bhavaushadhat Shrotramanobhiramad, Yaduttama Shloka Gunanuvadat. We need to take this medicine of the Bhagavatam, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhur Muho Bhuvi Bhavuka. We have to drink this ambrosia of Krishna Katha every day in sufficient quantity. I was in Udupi, and Dr. Kamat, who is the head of the Ayurvedic department in Manipal, he told me that, in this age, Ayurvedic doctors are not very good. And I know. I trained them. They're not very good. And he said, you know what? The medicines, they're also not very good. And the patients, they're also not very good. Because they don't do what we tell them to do. But there's one good thing. I said, what is that? He said, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, you can achieve the supreme perfection. And I said, doctor, are you a Hare Krishna? And he said, of course I'm a Hare Krishna. Because in Udupi, everybody's a devotee of Krishna. Kaler doshanidhe raja nasti heko mahad gunat kirtana deva Krishnasya mukta sangha parambrajet. So instead of trying to ban people and legislate and go after the bad guys, I met the enemy. It was me. We should reinforce the positive. Taking the medicine of Srimad Bhagavatam daily, nityam, every day, or constantly, in sufficient quantity. Like sometimes you go to the doctor, he prescribes you medicine, and you take medicine, and it tastes medicated ghee. Just thinking of it is not an acceptable thought, right? Those of you who know, you know. The others, you will know in due course of time. It's not an acceptable thought, but it is a requirement if you want to get healthy. Now, for a normal person, they open the Bhagavatam and they go like, what? You do the test. You're in your Sangha, family, friends, whatever. You just pick up the Bhagavatam and you start reading Bhagavatam. All of a sudden, people start, somebody just, it's like somebody pulled the plug, It's like the lights go out. As soon as you open the book, boom, the lights go out. Have you noticed? Others, they just get up and say, my mom is calling me. I have to make her a peanut jelly sandwich, peanut butter jelly sandwich. I have to go now. I'm a little busy. I have things to do. All of a sudden, people disperse. Have you noticed? You just open the Bhagavatam. It's quite amazing. But this is the medicine. This is what we have to take. And it is an acquired taste. Because initially, we have different type of taste. We have different type of interest. But through the mercy of the devotees, we can develop this taste. Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, who finished translating the Bhagavatam and who also translated Briya Bhagavatamrita, he had a Sanskrit school in Govardhan. Any of you have been there? Any students from there? But you heard about it. Every year, when we were having our Bhagavad Katha at the ISKCON Govardhan Ashram, he asked me to come and give class to his students. He said, otherwise they just become smartas. They just become pandits. They just become full of pratishta. So you come and you talk about preaching, about showing compassion, showing mercy to others. And he had me sit on a Vyasa-san, and he was sitting on the floor in front of me. This is Acharya. He's teaching by his own example. Showing to his students, it's not about how much you know. It's about your adhikar, about your attitude. This is the same Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu who I met in Moscow, and we were there. It was Brahmotsava, the anniversary of the installation of the deities in Yurlava at the Brahmachari place outside of, just on the outskirts of Moscow. And we were talking about what we're doing in life. And he was telling me about which books he was working on. He was very excited about his translation work. And I said, can I see some of that? And he said, do you have a pen drive? And I said, yeah. I gave him my pen drive. And he copied all the books. Those he did, those he was working on, he copied everything on the pen drive. And he said, here, have it. He didn't say this is highly, secret. This is privileged information. Why not? Because he considered you and me, we're on the same team. Whatever I know, you have to know. Because tomorrow you have to do the job. I met him in Delhi at east of Kailash temple. And he was just transiting from China through Delhi, Govardhan, then to Russia. And he had a big bread baking machine that he brought from China. and he was on his way to Govardhan. And he passed, he left. He had a quote on his desk in Govardhan that said, when the inside and the outside become the same, that is when real bhajan starts. When the inside and the outside become the same, that is when real bhajan starts. So he was very humble. He was very unassuming. Besides Pradyumna, probably the greatest Sanskrit scholar that we have in our movement. Translated all the major works. Very much in tune, not just with the text, but with the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. That when you read his books, you don't see really any difference with Prabhupada. You feel like, yes, this is what I've been looking for. I try to read Prabhupada's books once a year, meaning all the books once a year. And then once I'm through, it usually takes me 9 to 10 months. Then I try to read a few other things. And after about a month or two, you got a thing crawling there on your shirt, right next to your neck. Somebody maybe put it out on the... So, and after 1 or 2 months of reading other books, Vaishnava books, I get this feeling that, you see, this is what mobile phones are good for. You can save bugs. After about 1 or 2 months of doing that, then usually I realize there's something missing. There is something missing. You know, I miss that, I miss that special flavor. And I start again with 111 Bhagavatam and start reading again Bhagavatam. Because there's nothing that matches the taste of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's nothing that parallels it. And it is a culture of empowerment. All the great sages were there. Yet a 16-year-old naked boy came wandering out of the forest, and he sat down and he delivered the message of Bhagavad Gita to King Parikshit. His guru was there, his father was there, all the great sages, all the rishis, the who is who, everybody was there. But a 16-year-old naked boy came and he delivered the Bhagavatam. And all the others, they were happy, they were proud, they were joyful. Because they knew this is parampara. No insecurity, no territorialism, no trying to keep other people down. None of that. Empowerment. One time Srila Prabhupada, this is the last story, then we open for questions and comments because we still got class later on. One time Srila Prabhupada was on a train from north to south and he was going through Delhi. And in Delhi station, an Indian man came on the train, and in Prabhupada's compartment, there was about 10 devotees who were traveling with Prabhupada. And the man said, Swamiji, we need to have a temple here in Delhi. It's the capital, it's the most important city. We need to have a temple here. And Prabhupada looked at him, so you will help? We have a rule here in this group. Everybody is invited to suggest, to propose, to criticize, as long as they're willing to be part of the solution. If you're willing to be part of the solution, give all the suggestions, all the critique, all the advice that you want. If you're not willing to be part of the solution, zip it, because it's counterproductive. So the man said, yes, I will help, I will help. So Prabhupada looked around his bogie, his compartment, and he said, you, and you, get off the train. He gave them 50 rupee loan, not donation, loan, 50 rupee to start a temple, a center in Delhi. They went with the man. The man was a little puggle, you know. He thought that if the devotees would chant and he put his old batteries, that the batteries would again get recharged by the chanting. So he was a little loco, a little crazy. They stayed in his place, and they stayed in other places, and they started with nothing. It was rough. And now we have what, 15, 18, 20 temples? Some of them huge marble temples. Huh? Why? Because Prabhupada had vision. And he believed in empowerment. Huh? He believed in the process, that the process works. No matter who is there to deliver the message is potent, provided it does not get adulterated. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. Right now, as we're speaking, the Mormons have 100,000 missionaries in the world. Right now, 100,000 preachers. The men do 2 years, the ladies 18 months. Over 80% of their youth signs up for these missions that they finance on their own. Huh? On an average, they make about 4.2 bhaktas per year. So in their 2 years of mission, they probably make 8 to 9 new devotees. The Jehovah's Witnesses have members in all 239 countries of the world. So, how do they do it? Intelligence and good organization. And a missionary spirit. Huh? The Jesuits, have you heard of the Jesuits? They have schools all over the world. Most of the big universities, Harvard School of Divinity. You know what it is? A school of divinity? These were schools were teaching theology. I was in San Marcos, the oldest university of the Americas, North and South and Central, in Lima, Peru. And I was giving a conference there. And the professor of philosophy who had an ethics class who invited us to speak, he said that this university was started with theology, arts, and law. And now you're not allowed to talk about religion. It's strange, but it's happening more and more around the world. So don't take it for granted. You're here in Bharat. This is Punya Bhumi. It's a very special place. People are very favorable. They're very open, but don't take it for granted. Rapidly, they're becoming more westernized than the West. They're doing things that in the West would not be acceptable. But here, because they don't have any frame of reference, they think, no, this is the right thing to do. Plus, we have some catching up to do because we missed out on all this stuff. Huh? So, we don't have any time to waste. Kali Yuga is not getting any better. It's not getting prettier. We need to have a team of trained missionaries who go out there and who deliver the message of the Bhagavatam unchanged, and who help people to overcome their lower tendencies by higher taste, the higher taste of Krishna consciousness. One temple president wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and he said, there's this devotee in my temple. I really don't like what he's doing, and I want to kick him out. Please allow me to kick him out. He's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing the other thing. I want to get rid of him. Please sanction it. Prabhupada's answer was very short. He said, you have to tolerate him just like I am tolerating you. So, if you're in a position of leadership, it's not just about how much power you have, how much influence you have. Are we tolerant? Are we tolerant? To be strict with oneself and to be kind and considerate with others. Another temple president wrote to Prabhupada for advice. I just became temple president. What should I do? Srila Prabhupada said, you have to be very strict. And the next sentence was, and you have to be very liberal. It's funny, right? You have to be very strict and you have to be very liberal. How does this work? Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. Unity in diversity. Balance. Balance. Lord Chaitanya broke open the storehouse of love of Godhead and distributed its contents widely. He gave prema to one and all. Yet just a short while after him, again, things became convoluted. Things got complicated. We do not have a monopoly on bhakti. We do not have a monopoly on the Bhagavad Gita. We don't have a monopoly on this process of Krishna consciousness. There are other people. Now you go out, you look, every yoga studio is saying kirtan, bhakti, this and that. Are there other movements who give initiation? Yes, absolutely. So we have the best product, but we're not so good at how to make this product available. We're not so visible. We're not so reasonable sometimes. Yajanti hi sumedasa. If you have a brain, engage in the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and cooperate. Cooperate. Charlie Chaplin was once asked, what is the secret of your success? And he said, 50% of your success is showing up at the right place at the right time. That's already, you're halfway there. If you show up at the right place at the right time. And the other 50% is enthusiasm. Utsaha. Nishchayat Haryat. It's important to be enthusiastic, to be determined. But we also have to be patient. Because it may take a little longer than an afternoon. It may take a little longer than just doing the leads course. It may take a little longer than just getting initiated. It may take a while more than that. So we're very grateful to be here in the association of the devotees, hearing the Bhagavatam, discussing the Bhagavatam, discussing how this applies to us, what can we learn from this, and how can we improve ourselves. And naturally, as was the topic of my conference there in Lima, Peru, and the professor was very excited about this topic, the Vaishnava vision on ecology. You know, ecology is a big topic. Pollution. Pollution of the atmosphere, of the water, of the land, of the food. And I gave this simple analogy that unless we purify the ecology of our heart, of our mind, the state of the world, the state of the nation is not going to change. Why? Because we have not rectified the cause that caused that pollution in the world. Unless we eradicate lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy from our heart, the same problems will creep in again and again, just like Indra is facing the same scenarios over and over and over. And Prayaschita does not help it. Now you may say, Yani kani cha papani, brahmahatyadi kani cha. Tani tana pane. Yeah? You know that one, right? So it said, hey, you can kill the whole world if you do some Ashwamedha yagya. Then you can kill the whole universe and you'll be good. But there's a problem. Namno yasyat. Buddhi, yes, exactly. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name is the greatest offense. So Indra was not absolved from his offense just because he did some yagya. He had to suffer for a long time, for a long time. So reinforcing the positive, this is what the message is of today. People know what the problems are. They want to hear, what is your positive solution? What are your answers? What are you bringing to improve the quality of our life? And that is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhaja Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shika. Chant Hare Krishna, worship Krishna, glorify Krishna, teach this message to others. This will change the demographic. This will change the dialogue. So preaching is the tide that raises all the boats. I know some of you are project leaders, so you may think, oh, how is this going to change? I have bills to pay. I have problems to solve. I have issues to sort out in life. But this is what will change the game. Because once you up the Harikatha, all of a sudden, your problems, they become insignificant. They go away. Have you noticed? And once we are poor in our sadhana, once we're not really hearing and chanting, all of a sudden, material affliction again comes up and starts taking over. We got 6 minutes for comments or questions. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Nirad, very grateful that you revealed some glories of His Grace Gopi Prandan Prabhu. First time I heard this wonderful glories. Thank you so much for that. My question is about the punishment and all these things happen in ISKCON. Within ISKCON, if some person commits mistake, to err is a human, so there is mistake will happen from everyone. But the action which is taken, as you told about Prabhupada was approached by a temple president that, I want to remove this person. So such things also happen. So my question is, sometimes such things happen because it is not the solution which is thought of what is the problem of a person. You said, if you remove the person from devotional service, how is it going to be helped? Like removing the fire itself, the rod from fire, then how is it going to improve? If you remove that person from that place. So generally the action is taken. I am speaking little honestly. I am not making up a story here. So generally the decision is taken because of the heat of a situation by which, relief is required. Okay, just remove, then things will be peaceful.
Yeah.
But how do the best decision makers can do? Can you help? Because
yes,
they are also at heat. The management is at heat. The issue is heated. Everything. Kali Yuga. It's all heated up. But Kalautad Hari Kirtanat. So can you help how decision can be taken, as Prabhupada is saying?
First of all, Kaler Doshani De Rajan. This is an ocean of faults. So if you're looking for faults, there's plenty of faults. There's plenty of trouble. There's plenty of heat. And just removing a person doesn't really change. Especially like you've seen in India. Somebody does something wrong someplace and they kick him out. And next week he's in a different place and he's doing the same stuff. And then he goes to a different place and he does the same stuff. So basically you have just created a bigger problem. For you think, hey, I'm fine. Huh? Just like sometimes you try to light incense or a ghee lamp with a match. And then it doesn't really catch fire. And then it gets hot. And then it starts burning you. Has this ever happened? Huh? Yeah? And then you think, oh, okay, let me get rid of this. And you just... And then it falls on the carpet. Or it falls on the floor. And it makes a hole there. It burns a hole there. So... we have to be careful. We have to be conscious. Huh? As you were saying, being a little honest, the doctor asks not so much what are the symptoms. He wants to see what the symptoms are, but he wants to figure out what is the cause of those symptoms. And a doctor who just goes after symptoms is not a good doctor. He has to understand what is the cause that caused that. And then once you change the cause, the symptoms will also go away. But if you don't address the root cause, then it'll just come out in different ways. Other symptoms will come up. So that means we have to educate ourselves and each other in this science of Srimad Bhagavatam. And persons who are in position of authority have to be very careful, because they not only take part of all the glories, they also take part of all the blame of what goes wrong in their place. So it's an important role. Now, I'm lucky I'm not in the position of Yamaraj, and I'm also not in the position of authority or management. Yet, as members of this Krishna conscious movement and as aspiring servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara, we should be well aware and discuss these topics in depth to come to Krishna conscious conclusions, not just stopgap conclusions. Okay, problem solved. I don't feel the heat anymore, but so many others are getting burned. Huh? A leader is a person who can take some heat and he can absorb that heat to relieve others from that anxiety. Kshatriya, huh? He protects others from being injured. He takes that burden on himself. So it is a burden. It is a burden of love, burden of responsibility. But one has to be trained, one has to be adequate, and we have to understand that only Krishna is the one who can solve problems. He's the one who can change. He's the one who can change the scenario. I can't, because most situations are outside of our control. Have you noticed? Have you noticed? Most situations are outside of our control. Okay? Hare Krishna. Other points? No, you go ahead. You have it. You're getting it. Just
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, it was very inspiring. You told that how you read Prabhupada books every year. All Prabhupada books also.
I try.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, in the normal course of our life as a sadhaka, being in the temple, so with all responsibilities, if you can help us, how we can also prioritize by which we, I don't know, maybe may not be 1 year, but at least some target by which we can actually do it. Because sometimes we take some targets, something we say, we begin. And
so there's different ways you can go about it. One is you get up early. Prabhupada got up at midnight. Early is early. Whatever is possible. And then you read before japa, then you read after japa, and then when nothing happens, you also read, and then you read some more. Because if you like something, you just keep on doing it, right? That's just your taste. That's where you get your ras from. That's your rasa. Like some people have ras for politics or for sports or for business. That's their thing. That's their rasa. So this is supposed to be our rasa. This is supposed to be where we get our juice from. Now, if you read 2 hours, you will read all of Prabhupada's books in 2 years. If you read 4 hours, you read them every year. Huh? If you read a little faster, you can. So, depends on you. But then again, you're in a position of authority. You have a lot of responsibility. You have a lot of service. So you do the best you can, but you have to have an active program for reading. It can't be whenever, whatever. Whenever never happens. Mañana, tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. You have to have a plan. A day without reading is a day wasted. And same with your congregation. You have to train people in this. And ask them, can you read 1 verse a day? Can you read 1 verse a day? They say, yeah. Okay, Gita will take you 2 years. Bhagavatam will take you 49 years. Most of you can still do it. Less than 10% of our members have read Prabhupada's books. Less than 10% of our members have all the books. Prabhupada would not be that impressed if we tell him our, current scenario. How many hours on the phone? How many hours on the TV? How many hours on the computer? How many hours doing God knows what not? Huh? It's all about taste. So how do we get taste? By Tushyanti Charamanticha, by doing this satsang, by having this katha available daily. And that is the first and foremost duty of a leader, to ensure that the transcendental sound vibration of the Bhagavatam is going on. That is the first and foremost duty of a leader. If you're doing that, you're doing good. And if you're a preacher, if you have taste for Bhagavatam, management will come at your fingertips. Easy. Easy. People come and they will ask, what can I do? How can I serve? How can I contribute? Because they get inspired, because there is substance here. Yes, Prabhu. Last one, then we got to go.
A temple president should be strict and liberal, and that's applicable to all leaders in general. And I think the further explanation of that is you should be strict with yourself and liberal with others. Is that correct?
Thank you. Yes, that is one explanation, but as an authority, sometimes you also have to, you're in the unfortunate situation where you also have to be strict with others. But you can only be strict with others to the degree that you're strict with yourself. You know the story of Gandhi about sugar, you know? He had to fast before he could tell the other person not to eat sugar. Because I can't tell you to do something or not do something that I'm not following, because that makes me a hypocrite. And hypocrite is pretty much the worst thing you can call someone. So we have to walk the talk. It doesn't mean that you can only be strict with yourself and only be kind with others. Because if you're a manager, if you're a leader, if you're a parent, if you're a guru, you have to sometimes be a little strict. But you will be able to find the right balance, the right masala, if you apply that medicine to yourself, because then you know the taste of that medicine and you won't administer it indiscriminately. You'll be very conscientious.
Are you able to give some examples from Prabhupada's Leela as to he was strict and liberal?
Yes, so many. He said, well, initially he gave the first initiation, and then because the next day there was that sign on the door that said, by the way, all initiates have to follow 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds. And people went like, what? What did we sign up for? Huh? So now whether you're first liberal and then strict, or first strict and then liberal, that's time, place, and circumstance. But the principle applies. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you for being so vibrant and enthusiastic and expanding Krishna consciousness from here out into the universe. It is a great joy to be here in all of your association. And tomorrow we're leaving. So please pray for this fool, because the journey through the desert is long, and only with the stick of the mercy of the Vaishnavas can we have any hope, any solace, any chance of making this journey successful. So we humbly pray at the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas to please be kind. And if we sometimes speak strongly or address certain issues, thank you for your kind leniency. Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Srila Prabhupada ke, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ke, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Timing of the class?
As per what I remember last time, 9:50.
I know, but
9:10. So you have 2 minutes. Can you please help?
I usually take breakfast at 9. So, huh? I will answer your question. 9:10.
Can I ask?
You can ask me personally. I will answer your question.